Oh. Good evening, and welcome to Sarah Lawrence's webinar. We're here tonight with 3 of our writing students here at Sarah Lawrence, who are going to talk about their experiences here at Sarah Lawrence and hopefully answer any questions you may have concerning our writing program and submitting an application. My name is Emmanuel Lomax. I'm the director of. I am welcoming you here tonight and hope that you will have an enjoyable chat with us this evening. We have with us Bren. And welcome to Sarah Lawrence. And she's a second-year writing student. And Bren.
Sure. My name is Bryn. I'm a second-year poet. I moved here from Denver, Colorado, and I'm also the director of the 2015 Poetry Festival.
Wonderful. And we have Moses here. And Moses?
Yeah, my name is Moses Utomi. I'm a second-year fiction student, and I grew up in Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm the Graduate Student Senate president as well.
Okay. And Andrea.
And I'm Andrea, and I'm a first-year nonfiction student. I'm from Texas, but I was living in the New York City area, recently working, recently retired, so I've gone back to graduate school.
Wonderful. Just give us a little background about yourselves and how you ended up coming to Sarah Lawrence College.
Well, I was in the airline industry for quite a while and had wonderful years with world travel, lots of stories, lots of memories, lots of photographs that I look at. And then I went into the corporate world, the legal and financial world, actually. Did that for quite a while. And then when it came time that I really wanted to work on my memoir that I've been working on forever, I realized that I needed to learn to write. So it all came together very wonderfully, and I decided to go back to graduate school and learn to write very well, and then put my memoir together, and that's my goal for now.
Wonderful. And that's great. How about you, Moses? What brought you to Sarah Lawrence, and a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I took a year off after high school, and I worked as a journalist for a year, and then I did that into college. And so my plan was to write. I didn't know there was ways to make money in writing other than journalism. So that was fun. And then in college, I kind of got bored of it, just decided I'd do something else. I switched to psychology, but I was still writing short stories and working on novels and just reading voraciously. So after college, I took a year off. I worked, I traveled, and then I met some people along the way. I met some writers and discussed, and I learned whether teaching writing or working as a writer. So I decided to get my MFA. And
weren't you also teaching somewhere?
Yeah, I taught abroad. So I lived in Thailand for half a year, and I taught there. I taught English there, and it was amazing. It was the best thing I've done. It was cool.
Wow, that's great. And Bren, how about your background, the kind of things you did before you came here?
Oh, I did a lot of things. I did my undergrad work focusing on history and international relations in former Yugoslavia. So after I graduated, I moved to Europe, worked as an ESL teacher. I was an au pair. I volunteered at Bosnia's first eco-village and built houses out of straw.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was just going wild with freedom. And then I moved to Denver, and I had a dear friend who was applying for her MFA. And so I was editing her application to help her get in, and then realized I was being an idiot, and all I had ever wanted to do was study writing. And so I decided to apply for my MFA.
Wonderful. And what made you choose Sarah Lawrence College?
The thing for me was the conference system. I had looked at doing a program because I was working, and thought, all right, well, I'll just continue to write when I'm not at work, and then to take the time to really just write. And when I was looking at programs, I really liked just the emphasis on working one-on-one with a professor. And workshop wasn't the thing that drew me in. I wanted to work with somebody who knew what they were doing, who would take the time to work with me one-on-one.
Wonderful. Oh, that's great. So, the conference system, what is that? Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
So for every class, you meet one-on-one with your professor. Work through every other doing. This year I've done fellowship, so I've also been showing them, what they're doing, or opportunity. At least is better what they're doing.
Wonderful. That's great. And for yourself,
And I'd say the conference system has really helped me know my professor, reach me more closely, because we do have that one need to go ahead and start submitting things as really application, like my writing. So when I meet with her one-on-one, she edit writing for mag that she helps me rearrange, and I'm submitting some work, change my paragraphs, so we'll see what happens. And make it more class.
Teach that class again?
Joey and Beard,
oh,
this audience more easily. Yeah, it's been understandable, wonderful experience. That's what you get. You comments, and we have an open discussion. You get a lot of attention. You get a faculty, so it's been a wonderful experience. Getting more eyes looking at the work. It's a very elementary experience, seeing how they what you have.
oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, we hear things that a lot about the community of writers here. We can get involved in the classroom. And Moses, have you been involved in the classroom?
Yeah, too much.
To the choir.
So I did two main things. I tutor a writing center here, so where I tutor, and so I get writing and how to use a lot of graduate is the best, and then and like also the graduate student kind of help that student center, but figure president and figure out kind of we schools of writing, we represent the graduate student. That way, it's to the school at large, and so it's we have to keep aware of the graduate student issues. We plan school. We have weekly or monthly meetings. We have a lot. We have end of the year really things going parties, and we're just cool programs at Sarah Lawrence. A really smart people, integrate people. So our job is to make sure that they're connecting when they should be.
Wonderful.
So,
And Brenda,
this year I'm teaching means at or at high school. Like I teach 7th graders who have just old. I did like a Titanic reference. I teach. I couldn't believe I saw them in the theaters.
Oh, please, you went alive when it went down.
And then I run the poetry festival, which is a festival completely student run. Free to the public. Have an amazing lineup this year, and it's known its 12th graduate student of the writing program.
oh, that's really fascinating.
One thing I might say is that in addition to your classwork, so many visiting authors that come on campus and give either talks, they give reading workshops, they do these. So now this exposure and to these very well faculty known public, but we have these visiting authors that will come with it. Yeah, that's been a big plus for me. I didn't realize that was such a big part of the program that I would get something out of. Each one, I've taken away something that I think, that's what I need to do in my essay. That's how you do that. You get these points from all these published, well-known authors, and they're talking directly to you. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
It is very amazing. To your program. And that's a nice segue to our faculty. I mean, how have you, we have some, I know of any faculty as Siraji just stars in the writing industry, just received the street for his.
Just say from the chat that we have a question that says, that actually asks, did the big name faculty members ask? If so, how often?
Yes.
I can tackle that one. So Marie Howe, who's the New York Son of Acclaim, I've worked with her. She taught my workshop class last semester. Next semester, I'm taking a class with Melissa Phoebus, who's actually an alum of the program, and she's really well known for her memoir, Whip Smart. And then I also work with Jeff McDaniel, the advisor on the Poetry Festival. But I've never had a professor, even someone that I haven't worked with, you can't meet. You can't see me in the Pulitzer office can meet him. With it. I think he was probably just frazzled.
Yeah, it's your environment. It's not even just that the teachers are. It's almost as if like we see them all, like they're always. It's like a house, and they're just in the living room, and you're upstairs.
In line getting coffee together.
You will bump into. They're completely accessible, which is really nice.
I'm taking a humor writing class. An author named is very one. He won the James Thurber Award last year. He's had 4 books published, humor writing, and Adam Sandler's public production company has bought the rights to them.
Wow.
And I'm thoroughly enjoying this.
Oh,
So one serious,
really
one
nice.
not so serious.
Hallberg, Scott Snyder, who writes Vanity comics,
Wow.
David Hollander, pull out. He's brilliant. Yeah, I mean the whole faculty is have to spend a while naming off. They're so accessible, and we sit with them every 2 weeks and pour through their minds, and they really devote themselves to you. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, they're eager to know that you're learning.
Yeah.
You know, there's a mentorship that goes on here.
Mhm.
I was going to say Stephen O'Connor also, who's very well published. He's doing a nonfiction workshop, not this semester, but in the fall. So I'm definitely taking that.
I've
So
been sitting down with Brian Morton,
Mhm.
who's the director of the program. I check in with him pretty frequently just to say, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Is this a thing that makes sense? And,
Mhm.
I mean, I should not tell the internet this, but I call him my TV dad because he's very, like, warm and welcoming. And I'm never going to be able to meet with him again now.
So another question from our viewers is, someone would like to know how you go about revising something. What layers do you work through when you're revising your work? So who wants to take that?
Wow. I'll take a stab at it. I'm only a first year, but I've learned a lot in my first semester. First, I try to review the things that we talked about in class, either direct points that the faculty member has told us, and I try to review that. Then I try to step back and think, if I have no idea who this person is, if I have no idea what they're trying to say, is the message coming across? Is the emotion coming across? And then if not, then I start rewriting the sentences. It's a tedious process, but I love it. Once you start revising, The choosing of the words even becomes fun. You know, you become best friends with your thesaurus. You're always choosing the rhythm of the word, the meter, the innuendo, how it fits into the sentence, there's just so much to it. But revision is a very wonderful process because it's almost like you're polishing a stone or finishing a piece of art. You're working and working and working until it flows beautifully. It's very easy to read. Your message is very clear, and then you know you revised enough. It's hard to stop, but that's when I know I've revised enough.
Anybody else have any comments about that?
It's there's a lot of similarity. I mean, we all probably have slightly different methods. I know every writer has different methods, but I know with me, it's when I do write, it's kind of like just fireworks going off on the page. There's so many ideas and so many images and so many things to put together that when I revise, I have to very much distill, like, what is the essence of this piece?
Mm-hmm.
What is I mean, if you strip it all the way, what is it at its core? And then it's about, kind of like you said, like polishing everything around that and shaping it and putting that at the center and let everything else, the images and the characters, and even on the syntactic level, orbit around that essence of it.
Well, and there's a funny saying about, well, if I had more time, I could have made it shorter. So that's the thing. You really have to cull down excess words. And that was a process for me because I'm very flowery in my wording, and they would say, tighten it, cut out all that. You've said that before. You've said that message that it's just getting down to the essence of what you're trying to say, and then it's a beautiful thing to read, hopefully.
Thank you. Good.
So one of the questions is, what challenges do you find yourself facing daily as a writer?
Well, I'll take that. One thing one thing that I have learned really, after all of my years of working in an office and having very structured time, you know, there's a time you're supposed to be there, time you're supposed to be at meetings. You have superimposed deadlines on you. When you're a writer, it all has to come from within. The class structure is very flexible here, so the most of your time is not going to be sitting in class. It's going to be your own time, thinking, reflecting, assimilating your thoughts, and setting aside a time to write. I actually wrote out a daily schedule for myself, and I had to allot 2 hours in the morning, say, depending on if it was the day I had class or not, personal time, eating, you know, all the basic necessities, going to the cleaners, whatever, and then 2 hours in the afternoon, or some days 3 hours. But you have to set aside the time to write. That is a daily challenge. No one's going to tell you to, but you will feel better once you get in that habit. And then, now that I've done that, I wake up in the morning, I have my coffee, and that's the first thing I want to do. It's a habit like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
You develop the habit, and then it feels empty when you don't do it.
I see.
So that's my challenge, was just getting on a good time schedule, time management.
Good. How about you, Brent?
Very similar. I'm a distance runner, so I sort of treat it the same way I would of having to slot in time for a run. I mean, an 8 mile run takes a serious amount of time.
Yeah.
So saying, okay, I'm going to give at least that much time to writing. For me, I have a 20-minute rule, because I think if I were to look at 2 hours, I would say, like, oh God, that is so much time, and then spend all of it staring at a piece of paper saying, all right, I got to write a poem now. Where 20 minutes is enough to, like, get going. And at that point, I'm in it, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep going. I mean, I think that making the time to write and make sure I'm putting that first, and then also making the time to read are my two things, because I walk out of conference and I have 8 books that I should read, or, you know, just sitting and hearing someone's craft talk, like, oh, I want to go read that thing as well. So just next to my bed is a sizable stack of books that I look at and I'm like, you probably could tell me a thing I could use, but I just don't have time to read you right now.
Well, when I first started, I had a meeting with Brian Morton, and he's, you know, how's it going, Andrea? How do you like the program? And I said, oh, I've got so much going on. I'm doing this and this and this. And everything I was telling him They were all personal things. And I said, I just have to clean the slate so I can start writing. He took a little note and he said, okay, I'm going to check back with you in a month and see if you've cleaned that slate yet. And I did meet back with him and I said, you know what? I figured out how to do it. You write, even though you have other things going on. It's part of your day. It becomes part of who you are. You absorb, you become a wonderful observer and you absorb everything around you. You take notes, you keep a journal. And then when you're allotted time to write, you sit down and you pull out those thoughts and little notes you've written yourself and start pulling it all together. Wow. It's a wonderful life to write, believe me.
Oh, that's great.
We have another question about, are the graduates of the program publishing? If so, where and with how much diversity?
Yeah, so I can handle that one. Try to anyway. At least for poetry, which is what I know best, graduates of the program are publishing. Rachel Eliza Griffiths, who's teaching a class here, I'm actually in her class, was a graduate in '06. She has her next book coming out in April. Camila Aisha Moon, who is a poet, she had a book come out last year. Samson Starkweather had a book come out. Ross Gay, Patrick Rosal, and then more recent graduates are publishing as well. I think Sophia Starmark is at the Fine Arts Work Center. She's publishing. People in the program are publishing. It's not uncommon for people to submit. I haven't been great about submitting. I mean, I know you're saying you're starting to submit, and that idea to me is just like, I'll get to that. I'll put that on the summer to-do list. But people are definitely leaving the program and writing, and then doing things with their writing, which is sort of the good. I hear that's what you're supposed to be doing.
And there's also a student publication.
There is. That's
controlled by the graduate students, where students are able to get their work out right away, and that's Lumina.
Yeah.
Correct?
And then Lumina has its multimedia imprint, Lux.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lumina publishes everybody. I mean, not everybody in the sense that if you submit, you will be taken. But I mean, they've published Jamal May last year, Yusef Komanyaka, Rick Moody has published things, Nick Flynn is publishing things, in addition to current students will submit and get selected as well.
That's wonderful.
And you're a reader, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm a reader for Lumina, and in general, I think there seems to be like two approaches to submitting when people are in this program. I think some people get in and they get a professor that knows what they're trying to achieve, and they just start working on getting pieces ready for submission. And I think some of us come here and we're trying to still nail our narrative voice or nail exactly figure out what we're trying to achieve in fiction. So that's more submission on the back end, I guess, learning the craft still in the foreground. And with Lumina, as I'm still kind of waiting to submit, I'm still figuring my life out before I start saying that. Especially, I'm more of a novelist and a short story person, so submissions a bit more on the back end. But with Lumina, I'm reading submissions all the time, and I'm starting to learn what, as an editor, in the editor's mind, what excites me and what goes into that. And I definitely know that on the back end of submitting, it'll help. And we already have some fiction students. I know somebody published in Paris Review a couple years ago. We have somebody in Hobart this year, and we have people, I mean, in a lot of other places. So. That's right up there, yeah.
Jackie just won. Didn't Jackie win the Good Housekeeping essay last year?
Yes. And this is open to all the writing students in the program, right? All genres.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
And we do have publishers that come in from New York, agents, editors, to just talk about what they do. So you learn how the whole picture fits together. The relationship between you and your editor, for instance. We just had a seminar on that the other day that I learned a lot. I didn't know there were freelance editors and then editors working with specific publishing houses. I mean, you learn about the industry while you're learning to perfect your craft or improve your craft, I guess.
And so for our last question, before we sign off here.
So what advice would you give to prospective writing students who are looking at Sarah Lawrence, and how to get them to think about their work as, something that would help them when they submit their application to the program?
Ooh.
I think this is, oh, sorry.
No,
One,
you go.
okay, sorry.
I'm still thinking.
Yeah.
Please.
I think this is a lifelong, perhaps, writing thing. But some of it is kind of believing in yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of it is just trusting that you don't have it figured out, but that you have figured out enough for right now. You can find an application only so much. You're not gonna, where you're at in the writing journey is where you're at, and I think you need to trust that and let someone else decline you. Don't decline yourself. I think, work on it and refine it and make it as perfect as you can, but it'll just trust it for the most part.
Right.
I think that's spot on, because
That's right.
if you're waiting to write the perfect piece before you submit it, then you probably don't need the MFA program because you've just knocked out a perfect piece. For me, I've gone back and foolishly looked at the portfolio I submitted, and some of it I'm like, oh, gotta edit that. And some of it I can say all right, I get where I'm coming from. What you're doing is you're showing your roots. And who's ever reading your application, whether it's here or at another program, is gonna see, okay, I can start to see what's gonna grow out of this, and maybe it's not gonna be the perfect fit. I think that was the other thing that I realized. I had submitted places that I submitted to schools that I didn't really want to go to. I just thought I should submit there because everyone else did. And if I had decided to go there, it wouldn't have been the right fit for me. So somebody saying, you're not accepted, this isn't the right space for you, isn't saying you aren't a writer and get out, break your pencils in half. It's just saying you're not the right writer for this situation right now.
And one thing about submitting a portfolio, even though I've chosen nonfiction as my genre, I've put together a lot of things. I've written some poems, some chapters of my memoir that I'm working on, some essays, some current event pieces, just a sampling of the way my brain works. I think that part of your writing, they're trying to get to know you as a person as well. And I think the variety of writing, not that you have to do this, but that's what I chose to do. And I think they saw that I have a lot of different ways that I can write, so I think that helped.
Those are good comments, really good comments, and we appreciate your honesty. And as we begin to wrap this up, we just want to, again, thank you, all three of you, for being here, Brandon, Moses, and Andrea, and also for the audience who joined us with the questions. Please be in touch with us if you have questions. Let us know. We're here. You have time to submit your application. So, as Moses said, and Brandon and Andrea said, just move forward. Move forward, and don't be afraid of being rejected based on the fact that it's not the perfect piece. Just move forward with your writing, and what the committee is always looking for is the true potential that you can bring to this institution and what this institution can offer you. So, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Have a wonderful evening.
Bye. Hope to see you.